Hello there everybody and welcome to another episode of Jacob and Cosmo Explore. This week's video is all about Japan and it's been brought to you by Passion for Learning. Me and Cosmo are so excited to get going. So, why wait? Here we go!
Japan is an island country on the Asian continent. From the UK, it would take us around 13 hours to travel there via plane. As of 2020, the population of Japan was 126.5 million people. Its capital and largest city, Tokyo, has over 13 million inhabitants. The Japanese islands consist of 4 main islands and many other smaller isles. In total, there are over 6,800 islands. The largest of the 4 major islands is Honshu, which is also the 7th largest island in the world. As well as Tokyo, Japan has other large cities such as Yokohama, Osaka, and Nagoya. At 12,388 feet, the highest mountain in Japan is Mount Fuji, a dormant volcano. Dormant basically means sleeping, and it hasn't awoken for a while. Fuji last erupted in 1707. Japan lies on the Pacific Ring of Fire, a chain of volcanoes which are responsible for the most dramatic volcanic outbreaks and tsunamis in recent years. In Japan, there are more than 108 active volcanoes. 108? Wow! Anyway, Detective Cosmo, come in. Do you hear me?
Hearing you loud and clear, Jacob.
Fantastic. How are you getting on with your research?
Really well. I've been investigating all about the animals in Japan. For example, did you know that deer roaming the many parks in Japan is a common sight? Diverse species of animals can be found across the country, such as flying squirrels, bears, and wild cats. They're a little bit like me. There are about 160 species of wild animals, 700 species of birds, and 32,000 insect species. Japan has one of the largest thermal regions in the world. Many popular hot springs are to be found in the southwestern region. The hot springs are called onsen. There are local snow monkeys, also known as Japanese macaques, which keep warm by bathing in the hot springs.
Very interesting indeed, Cosmo. Thank you. Those hot springs sound amazing. Let's move on to food then. And the Japanese diet consists mainly of rice, fish, soy products, and vegetables. Many dishes contain these ingredients. Soups and sushi are very popular indeed. The Japanese diet is quite different to the traditional Western one that we have over here. Have you ever tried sushi? Sushi is a traditional food from Japan, but it is also popular in other countries as well, such as America, Canada, and the UK, where we live. It is made with specially prepared rice. The rice is usually mixed with vinegar, salt, and sugar. Now, sushi also contains raw or cooked seafood, and sometimes vegetables as well. Often, sushi is wrapped in a sheet of seaweed, as this chef is doing here. Let's watch that process again in time-lapsed footage. You get the rice on the paper, a little bit of dressing, cucumber, seafood, roll it up, and then the chef cuts it and makes it into smaller portions. And then he'll turn it over, and that is often how sushi is presented. Sometimes like this, with drizzles of oil and dressing on the top. In Japan, you'll often find sushi bars where the food goes around on a carousel like this. Sushi lovers watch the food carefully and choose what they fancy. Lots of Japanese food is enjoyed with the help of chopsticks, and sushi is no exception. Detective Cosmo, I thought I'd leave the next part of our exploration up to you. Have you ever heard of mythical?
Indeed, I have. Maneki-neko is a lucky cat charm that's very popular in Japanese culture. Maneki-neko means beckoning cat. The cat has its paw raised as if it's waving in good fortune for its owners. There's a meaning behind which paw the Maneki-neko cat is holding up. If it's the left paw, this is supposed to attract customers. If the right paw is raised, this invites good fortune and money. They both sound pretty good to me, which is why sometimes you can find a fortune cat with both of its paws in the air. Two paws up can also represent protection.
Okay then, now we know plenty about Japan, it's time to move on to our activity. And this one is all about learning how to write a haiku. Now, in principle, a haiku is quite a simple thing to write, but actually, it can take a lot of practice to learn how to do it well, as with a lot of things in life. So then, what is a haiku? Well, it is an unrhymed 3-line poem. It doesn't have to rhyme. It is based on a traditional Japanese poetic form. Now, there are plenty ways that you can write a haiku, but the traditional pattern in English is to write the first and last lines with 5 syllables each, and the middle line with 7 syllables. A syllable is a single unbroken sound of a spoken or written word. For example, the word cat has 1 syllable, but Cosmo has 2 syllables. Cos-mo.
Okay, everybody, we're closer and closer to being able to give our first go of a haiku a whirl. But we're going to need a pen and some paper or something to write with or on, really, aren't we? So, at this point, pause the video and grab yourself something to write with and something to write on. It can be anything. You could even use a device, I suppose. It's entirely up to you, but pause the video now and I'll see you in a couple of seconds' time. Pause it. Right then, let's get on with writing our haiku. So, we know the first line is going to have 5 syllables, the second line is going to have 7 syllables, and the line after that is going to have 5 again. There are only 3 lines in a haiku. So, it's key to choose a theme. And the theme that we're going to use initially, at first, is the theme of seasons. Seasons. So, you might know that there are 4 seasons. There is winter, there is summer, there is spring, and there is autumn as well. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Cosmo and I created a video all about spring. So I've decided that our haiku is going to be about that, spring. Hopefully at this point you have something to write with and something to write on, and we're good to go. The very first thing that I have done on my piece of paper is write the word spring. It's up there as a title, really, just to remind me of what's going on in my haiku. You don't need to write a title, but it can help sometimes. Also, I have written the numbers 5, 7, and 5. Okie dokie. 5, 7, and 5. And the reason that they are there is to give me a reminder for the amount of syllables required in each line. So, at this point, grab yourself your writing implement, your pen or your pencil or whatever, and jot down 5, and then underneath that 7, and then underneath that 5 again, because that will give you a handy reminder for your first attempt at a haiku. Give that a go now. You might want to pause your video for a second and jump back as soon as you're ready. I'll see you there. Now, what I've decided to do with my first line is make it very clear to the people reading this haiku that it is about spring. So, simply, I'm going to say this. Spring is arriving. Spring is arriving. Okie dokie. That is my first line. Let's do a syllable check. Spring, is arriving. Brilliant. I know that the first line works, it's 5 syllables. If you wanted to, for your first line, you can take inspiration from what I have written down. Although, that is not necessarily the best thing to do. It'd be amazing if you could make up your own completely different. Try and keep it about spring at this stage, because that's what we're working on together. But eventually, you can do lots of different themes and lots of different topics. Okie dokie. Why not pause the video at this stage and make your first line? Get it written down on that piece of paper. Take your time with it. It could take you as little as 2 minutes. It could take you 10 whilst you're thinking. It's up to you. Pause the video and come back to it when you're ready. I'll see you there. Okay then, how did you get on with line number 1? I'm sure yours is absolutely fantastic. Let's move on to line number 2 then, and this time we have more syllables to play with. In fact, we have 7, yes, maths isn't my strong point. 7 syllables to work with, and what I'm going to do now is share my thoughts and feelings, okie dokie. I'm going to give some information to the reader about how I feel about spring. It's important in a haiku that that is the case. We're getting a message across. So I'm going to say, I'll talk about how much I love seeing the flowers. So here I go, 7 syllables. Let me think. Okay, let me give it a try. I hope it's 7 syllables. I love seeing flowers grow. Yeah, brilliant. 7 lines. And I've shared my thoughts and feelings there because I do. I love seeing the flowers come in springtime because it makes our gardens and the parks look beautiful, doesn't it? So I have line 1 and line 2 done. At the moment, it reads like this. Spring is arriving. I love seeing flowers grow. Okie dokie. Pause the video at this point and give your line number 2 a go. And when you're ready, restart the video and I'll be here waiting for you. I'll see you then. Rightio, how did you get on with line number 2? I'm sure it's fantastic. When you're ready, we're going to move on to line number 3 then. And we know that in line number 3, it's 5 syllables once again. We need to be doing 5 syllables. The first one was 5, the second one was 7, so we're back down to 5 syllables here. And it's nice to make an observation. It's nice to take into account what has been said so far in your haiku and sum it up at the end. So I'm going to give mine a go now. I've got 5 syllables, so what could I say? I know. Let's see. Yes, I think it is going to be 5 syllables. Fantastic. Okay, here's my final line. We should go walking. Okie dokie. We should go walking. Brilliant. It's 5 syllables long. And it sums up my haiku, doesn't it? So, it's time to give line number 3 a go for you guys. You may want to pause the video to give yourself some thinking time. Remember, we have 5 syllables to work with on this line, and we're trying to sum up our poem. We're trying to sum up our thoughts and feelings at the end of the haiku. Pause your video now, and I'll be waiting right here when you're done. See you then. Alrighty then, how did you get on with line number 3? I'm sure it's absolutely fantastic, and well done for your hard work. Although it's quite short, it can be quite tricky thinking of a certain amount of syllables, can't it? I must admit, I had to take a little bit of time to think. If that's the case, fantastic. It shows that you're trying your best, and that's absolutely wonderful. I'm just going to share with you my haiku in total to get an idea for how it might flow. Okie dokie, here we go. Spring is arriving. I love seeing flowers grow. We should go walking. So, that is my haiku. Simply 3 lines long, and it basically tells the reader how much I enjoy spring, that spring is here, and that because of that, we should go walking. I'm saying basically that we should get out and check out all the plants and flowers and trees and everything sprouting because it's that time of year. That's what I'm trying to get across. I'm hoping that your haiku was similar. In fact, I'm certain that it was even better. So, well done you. So, now we have written our first haiku together, maybe now you could write more and more. Because as we say, practice makes perfect. It'd be fantastic if you could write haikus about the things that you're passionate about. Traditionally, and most often, haiku poems are about seasons or nature, a little bit like we did with spring. But you can write your own. It can be about anything you like. It could be your favourite sport, your favourite chocolate bar, your favourite topic at school, absolutely anything. Have fun with it and write as many as you can. You could also extend this activity into a drama one by performing your haiku. For example, ours is about spring, and it's spring outside now, so you might choose to get out and perform your poem to an audience out there. If you do, make sure you ask for the permission of an adult and stay safe. Well done everybody, that brings this week's episode of Jacob and Cosmo Explore to an end. We hope you've had as much fun as we have when we explored Japan and everything Japanese. So, from me, Cosmo, and everybody at Passion for Learning, we can't wait to see you again soon. Thank you and goodbye.